So good afternoon, everyone. My name's Natalia and I will be your host for this session. Next slide, please. So this is our final session of the day, unfortunately, and if you have joined us throughout the day, we thank you for joining all of our other sessions and sticking with us, and we hope you enjoyed those sessions. Although this is the last session, it's by no means the least session. It's our student life panel, where we will have a panel of current students from different courses to tell you more about their kind of journey at St. George's, their student experiences, and what answering all your burning questions, and why you should come to St. George's. So without further ado, I'd like to ask the panel to join me on camera, and I can introduce them to you. Amazing. So we have Sheer, who is a medicine third-year student. We have Mohib, who's a medicine fourth-year student. We have Ethan Osborne, who is our Vice President of Student Activities and Experience. We have Spada, who's a graduate entry medicine student in her final year. And we have Charlene, who's a biomedical science third-year student. Thank you. So I would now like to pass over to Spada, who's going to tell you a little bit about her journey at St. George's.
Hi everyone, I'm Spada. I'm a final year medical student. My journey into medicine was a bit different, and I was actually a transfer student, so I've done biomed and medicine. What I like about medicine is that it's very hands-on, and being in a clinical teaching environment such as at George's, getting taught by doctors themselves is perfect for me. Transfer allowed me to integrate my learning from theory to practice, and so it's been the perfect route for me. About me, I'm not a Londoner, so moving here was definitely a new experience for me all those years ago. I lived in halls for my first year and then moved into local accommodation afterwards. For me, George's was the place because it was all about healthcare, and I knew that that's the career path I wanted to follow. Also, I'd always envisioned myself doing medicine, and I thought that it was more likely for me with the transfer option being a potential. Over the years, I've managed to rack up a lot of experience, as you can see, and taken part in so many university activities. I love to go out, so going to SU events has been a regular part of my life at George's, as well as going into central London for meals and nights out. I've been on the Student Union executive team as well, which for those of you that don't know, are students elected by other students that help make changes in the university and help organise events. I've been on the committee for societies like Hindu Society and being a part of several others such as Paediatric Society and Dance Society as well. For me, extracurriculars, in particular performing, is a big part of my life. So I've acted and danced in Diwali show and tooting shows, which are our annual charity performances at St. George's. I also take classes across London and used to dance in central London, so commuting in and out is perfect for me, and tooting is just a nice place to go from. I've also run lots of charity events over the years, such as a dance-a-thon and a sponsored silence. So if you love charity events, it's definitely the place for you. As you can see in one of my photos in the top left corner, there are plenty of fun group activities for students. So in this particular picture, you can see me at St. George's in the King's joint venture, where we had an event celebrating Holi, which is the festival of colours. So it's been a lot of fun mingling with not only St. George's students, but other students from in and around London too. Additionally, to earn a bit of extra money, because we could all do with that, I've been working in the SU shop, as well as taking part in different university opportunities, such as being an ambassador or taking part in little things like photo shoots. So there's a picture of me in the middle where you can see me sat on a park bench posing for a photograph. So I've had a great time here personally, and I hope to see you here soon as well. Any questions, just let us know at the end and I'll be happy to answer them. Thank you.
Amazing, thank you, Spada. I'd like to pass over to Mohib now to tell you a little bit about his journey at St. George's.
Hi, my name is Mohib, and I'm an international medical student in my fourth year of study at this university. So I just wanted to talk about just a couple of memories about being at university, about the 4 years of being here. So as you can see in the top left picture, that's me and my friends at this place called Tooting Market. So as everyone probably already knows, St. George's is located in Tooting, and it's a very multicultural international area. There's a lot of different restaurants, there's a lot of different cuisines, and it's always nice to go there with a couple of friends every weekend to just talk, hang out, grab some food from a cuisine that you haven't tried before. So this area is actually really wholesome for a university, and a lot of students live here as well, so it's a pretty young community too. The next picture that you can see that's on the bottom left corner is me playing guitar. That's just me acting for one of the shows that Sparta earlier mentioned. This is the Diwali show. So at St. George's, we have lots and lots of different shows that happen that involve acting, dancing, singing, music, basically all sorts of performances. And this is one of the shows. It's called Diwali Show. There's many others. For example, Tooting Show. There's different musicals. There's a fashion show as well. So the next picture, the one right in the middle on top, is of me at Machu Picchu in Peru. So this was part of a charity society that I was part of during my first year, which asked us to raise a certain amount of money, which allowed us to go and trek to Machu Picchu. And it was honestly one of the best experiences I've had ever at university. And it's definitely something that I'd recommend everyone else to do. In the next picture, this is me in the middle, in the mirror over there, and a couple of my mates organizing an event for the Students' Union. This was back in second year when I was an events officer for the Students' Union. And this is basically just a role that you take up where you're elected by students of the university and you organize events that are organized at the SU, like freshers or graduation discos, clubs and society events, and lots of other things. The next picture that's on the right, on the top right, is of me outside the university holding my dissertation. So this is from this year, in fact. I intercalated in anatomy last year and graduated this year from it. And this is something that St. George's allows you to do after your second year of medicine. And it's a subject that you choose, something that you're really interested in, that you study in more detail than you have already. So I chose to study anatomy and did a BSc in anatomy because I'm really interested in becoming a surgeon at some point. Lastly, on the bottom right, you can see the logo for St. George's Surgical Society. It's this really old society at St. George's that focuses on surgery. As you may or may not already know, St. George's has a lot of different societies. This is just one of the many educational societies. There's Radiography Society as well. There's Biomedical Society. There's lots of other societies from different categories as well. So there's cultural societies like Tamil SOC, Pakistan SOC, India SOC, and there's also a lot of sports and other activities as well. That's about it. If you have any questions, in particular for an international student, and if you'd like to ask me, don't hesitate to ask, and we'll answer them at the end of the webinar. Thank you.
Thank you, Mohib. That was amazing sharing all your experiences. I'd now like to pass over to Shia, who's a third-year medical student, to tell you a bit more about her experiences.
Hi everyone, I'm Shia. I'm a third-year medical student here at St. George's. I joined George's through clearing, so a bit like you guys, I was a little bit nervous about freshers and I didn't really know what to expect. But I was really lucky to be really well supported by my St. George's family. So if you didn't know, when you join George's, you'll be allocated a mum or a dad, which is a person in the year above you, whose responsibility is to support you academically and socially. And then we have larger families going all the way back to kind of parents, grandparents and great-grandparents and going all the way up. I'm currently really lucky to be a proud mum of 5 George's kids, and you can see in the top left corner over there a photo of me with 2 of my sons. In terms of societies, I've been involved in a lot in the 2 years that I've been at George's. When I joined as a fresher, I joined the boat club, and I'd never rowed before, but I got taught by older years to row and cox, and then became treasurer of the club in my 2nd year. I also joined Global Brigades, SGUL, which is our branch of a student-led NGO that works to help impoverished communities abroad. I spent a lot of my 1st year fundraising and then went to Ghana to volunteer in a medical clinic with my peers. This coming year, I'm expecting to be the president of JSOC, which is the Jewish Society. So if you have any questions about that as well, don't hesitate to ask me at the end. I, like the other two mentioned before me, I'm also really involved in the student union. So last year I was one of the events officers, and this coming year I will be one of the charities officers for the students union. It's not all fun. I've also done a bit of academics. So over the summer between my fresher year and my 2nd year, I did the summer dissection program, which is a chance that about 25 pupils get each year to do whole body dissection in preparation of the cadavers for anatomy teaching for the following year. I also hope to intercalate next year if I get my grades. In terms of work, in order to earn some money alongside studying, I work as a student ambassador in the university and also have a job on the student union bar, which is a really fun way to make money whilst fitting in around your timetable and having really flexible hours. As you may or may not know, St George's is in Tooting, which is a really, really nice area in London. I really love it for multiple reasons. Firstly, because it's a bit cheaper than the other areas that other London universities are placed in. I also love the area for its markets and pubs, which are really nice to spend time in. And over lockdown, I spent lots of time exploring some of the local parks, of which Morden Hall is my favourite. It's really beautiful. So just to summarise, my favourite thing about George's is the family feel and how well supported and included I have felt by my family and societies, clubs, and just my fellow peers who are all really nice and friendly. If you have any other questions, please feel free to get in touch with me at the end.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Shir, for sharing your experiences with us. I'm now going to pass over to Charlene, who's a biomedical science 3rd year. Hopefully she could tell you a bit about her journey at St George's.
Hi everyone, so my name is Charlene. I'm going into my 3rd year of biomedical science at St George's. However, before completing my final year at an undergrad, I will be undertaking an internship at Gosh Institute as part of my PTY program at St George's. So to kind of tell you the 3 reasons why I decided to go with St George's, I have made 3 points. So the first one is that I'm dyslexic. So before, like when I was making my choices for uni, I really wanted a supportive program because not only was I dyslexic, but I also wanted for my first 3 years as an adult to kind of have a supporting environment. Also because I wasn't from London, I'm French, so I didn't really know the area as much. So I spoke to one of my friends who was actually in her first year of medicine at St George's, and she had told me of the St George's family that Shir mentioned and how supporting that was. She talked about the SU and also the staffs and how supportive they are. So that was my first reason why I want to go to St George's. Now, my second reason is that I want to do medicine. I was aspiring to become a doctor, but at the same time, I also wanted to do research. So I had applied for medicine in France and gotten an offer there, and I had applied at St George's and had the offer at St George's. So when I contemplated which one I want to go first, I decided to go with biomedicine due to the program that it was providing. I love the fact that I could try for the transfer or do an undergrad or postgrad after I had finished my biomed degree. So it was just for me the best choice at that time, and I am so happy that I did this because I feel like I am become more mature in my study, and so it was the best choice for me. Now, the third reason why I decided to go with St George's, and I think that's the best part, it's that it's in a hospital. If all the course that we're providing at St George's are health course programs, and the hospital is pretty much the area where everyone will be working if they become health carers. So I love straight away that I would get a feel of the workplace I would probably work in, no matter which route I decide to go for. So some of the societies that helped me kind of get interaction with the hospital was the Peds Society and the Teddy Bear Hospital. So straight away, I applied to the Peds Society and got work experience there during my April break and Christmas break. And so I was able to shadow doctors in the NICU and PICU and got so much experience. Not only was I able to connect that from the course, from my course, but also just gain more experience for my CV and for possibly the transfer or a grad entry. Furthermore, because I am interested in research, I also wanted to get more work experience in the lab. And so straight away, I went to one of my tutors and discussed that I was really interested in infection immunity and I wanted to see more of it outside lectures. And he was kind enough to actually provide me a week-long work experience in his lab. So it's not only just gave me more experience, but it's also a great preparation for my future career, and also to decide whether or not I want to do research, stay as a biomed, or do medicine. So these are my 3 reasons why I chose St. George's and the biomedical course, and I am so happy that I have gone with this choice. So if you have any questions, please ask, because we're here for that. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Charlene, for sharing your experiences at St. George's with us. And just to remind you all that please do send your questions in. You know, we've got a full panel to answer your questions about student life, student experience. Start thinking about your questions now and start sending them in the questions panel. So I'd now like to introduce you to Ethan, who's the Vice President of Student Activities and Experience.
Hi everyone, my name's Ethan, and I've been around at George's for quite some time now. I started back in 2014, and in my time throughout the course, I was fairly heavily involved with a lot of the things that other people have already said. They are the clubs and the societies aspect and the students' union as well. So I spent 2 years working as a tech officer, which meant that I was doing all of the sound and light design for all of the shows at George's. There's half a dozen different performing societies that put on over a dozen shows over the course of the year. So there's an awful lot that goes on in a performance sense, which I think is a very important part, very special part of George's, given that it's healthcare students only. And it shows just the dedication that students can have towards things outside of their course. I was also part of the musical and music societies. I performed regularly up on stage, both performing music and acting. And I started my own society while I was here as well, which was Stagecraft, to teach people about how backstage theatre works, how to build sets, how to paint, how to do sound and light. And I also helped with one of the societies at the University of London, which is an organisation that covers all London universities, running one of their theatre projects as well. With all my time that was spent doing student activities and clubs and societies at St. George's, I stayed on to help as the Vice President of Student Activities, and I'm going into my 2nd year of doing that now. So I'm part of the Students' Union, one of the sabbatical officers who helps run all of the events and oversees all of the clubs and societies, which I think are one of the best parts of George's, one of the best ways to get involved with things, meet new people, learn new skills, develop ones you already have, and find new interests. We have about 120 societies that you can take part in, and the best part of these is that they are all run by students for students. So you can get involved not only as a member of the societies, but you can also become committee members. You can direct the club or society, choose where it goes, run events, and it's a great way to get involved in passions, both academic ones and extracurricular ones throughout your time. The Students' Union is also there to run freshers events and a calendar of events throughout the year, as well as being there, obviously, to provide support, welfare advice, well-being advice, anything that you have any issues with, academic problems, accommodation, student finance. That's what the SU is there for. It's by the students for the students to help everyone. And looking through everyone's photos on this slide, I can see examples going back on most of the slides where all of these people have crossed over, myself included, which I think goes to show that George's is a small university with a big community, and there is a lot of crossover, there's a lot of play between different groups of people, and you really do get to know everyone and get to be a part of something at George's, because it's small enough that you can get to know more people. You don't get isolated, but there's a wealth of activities and things that you can really get stuck into. So I'm now going to ask the other panelists to come back on, because we've had some questions. So I'm going to have a look through those questions and give an advice from the perspective of the Students' Union, and then also ask the other panelists to contribute. So the first question that we've had through is, what is the best way to make friends, in particular if the course is starting online? I think the best way to meet people is just to sign up and get involved with as much as you possibly can. When you start university, you will have every opportunity to go out and find a whole bunch of activities that you can get involved in. You will have groups of people that you meet in any lectures that you're in. You'll have groups of people that you might meet through accommodation if you're in halls, and there will be online activities run both by the SU and by clubs and societies that will be open to everyone. So my advice would be just to sign up to as much as you can. Obviously, with everything starting online, it's slightly different to previous years, but it's definitely something that will be kept in attitude and kept in spirit, the spirit of inviting new students in to take part, enjoy themselves, and find a group of people, a group of friends, a club or a society that speaks to them. That ethos is still going to carry on. Does anyone else have anything that they think would be good advice for making friends with an online course start?
Yeah, so I would say before I even arrived at uni at St. George's, I remember some older years had created SGUL Freshers 2000, I think it was 2018, 2019. So on there, they actually, for each course, there was a WhatsApp group that you could join when you're a fresher. And so I met some of my closest friends on that group chat and started talking with them on that group chat. So even before I arrived at uni. So this is definitely something like you will have to do, I guess, because you will be starting online, and it's totally doable. So yes, this is one way of doing that. And then after, when you arrive, meet everyone during the freshers event. And so, yeah.
Anyone else?
I just wanted to reiterate about online events. I know that all of the societies, at least that I'm involved in, are planning a whole host of online events to run through the beginning of the year. So yeah, just attend all of them. You can attend one once and then decide that that's not for you and not go again. But that'll be a really nice way for you to meet as many people as possible.
And to help with that, there are going to be a whole host of ways that you can find out about clubs and societies. One that is going to be coming up and will be run twice, once for graduate entry medics and paramedics who start slightly sooner, and then once again for the undergraduate entry, is a series of live streams that are going to be hosted by clubs and societies for people just to approach them, ask questions, or just listen in and find out a bit about the club. And you can also check the website, the SGSU website, to find out about all of the clubs that we do have on offer and have a look and see if there's any that interest you. Generally, I would say the best thing to do is just try everything. Sign up to as much stuff as you think as you might be interested in, because something will click, and that something will stay with you throughout the whole of your time at George's. Next question is a question on, is London expensive as a student? I think one of the nice things about the area that St George's is in Tooting in South London is that it gives you a good balance between London and not London. Central London is far more expensive to live in than Tooting. Obviously, it's not going to be as cheap as some other places. It is still in London, but the actual local area is slightly quieter than central London. We've got a lot more parks, a lot more green spaces that you can enjoy, and you can live easily within means in Tooting. You know, there's a lot of shops, there's a lot of good restaurants, low cost restaurants, activities that you can get involved with all around Tooting. So I think the area is a particularly good one. And once you start to get into your second years and above, and you're moving into private accommodation, rented accommodation, usually shared with other people, again, it's a good balance between the benefits of being close to central London and being part of that kind of 24-hour city feel, but also being in a slightly quieter part and with spaces to explore and relax and get away from that as well. What have you all found about living in London?
Yeah, so London can seem quite daunting to live in because it comes across as really expensive and everyone tells you it is, but Tooting's really well located, as Ethan said. So it actually suits everyone really well in terms of you're not paying as much for rent or for food as you might be in Central. But also, if you're worried about money, don't forget that there's avenues to help. So find out about grants and things like that. And also, you can also apply for part-time jobs. A lot of students I know, including medical students, do have part-time jobs on campus, very flexible jobs. So there are avenues to explore if you are worried about that.
So as Spada mentioned just now, she said there's a lot of avenues at university itself to make money. Becoming a student ambassador is one of them, and that's actually the 4 of us, or the 5 of us are all student ambassadors. And then there's also anatomy demonstrators that people can apply for, where you go and teach anatomy to students who are in the year below you or the years under you. And you can also apply to become clinical peer tutors, which means you teach clinical skills to other students who are below you. And all of these are just really flexible jobs that everyone can apply for and make some extra cash from.
There's also work available within the Students' Union, both as bar staff and shop staff, which I think at least half of us have been either bar staff or shop staff at some point. And the advantage of those jobs within the union and with the university is that they are designed for students. You work on a rota system and they are very flexible around your study and your other commitments as well if you have extracurricular stuff that's going on. Charlene and Cher, anything to add?
Yeah, just a quick mention that if you do get a student loan, the student loan in London is actually higher than it is elsewhere. So this kind of complements the price of living in London, and Tooting being a bit cheaper than the rest of London actually does leave you with a bit of money to spare in that case. So if you're someone who is looking at getting kind of a maintenance loan, that might be something to consider.
And as you spend time in the area, you will learn from your friends in your current year and students who are in years above you of the best places to go and the best places to look. You know, I think Tooting is a very multicultural area. There's a huge range of shops on offer, and I think some of the local supermarkets almost have slightly better deals on things, but you will learn your way around, and it's a very good place to be to discover an area. It's big enough that you can enjoy it, but small enough that it's not overwhelming. And as you do that, you will find the best ways to live and the best ways to get by. And yeah, I think that it's not as daunting as it would otherwise be. I think if you were more central, you've got that good balance. That kind of leads on almost to another question that we've had, which is someone who doesn't live far from university and is asking about should they commute or live in the area, and also about what halls is like. at the end of the day, the choice to commute or live in the area is one that comes down to you. I think for a lot of people, the guiding decision is what is cheaper. As London becomes more expensive, it becomes more economical to commute from further distances. Obviously, if you live in Tooting, you are closer to the university, not just for study, but for other activities, for socialising, for getting involved with clubs, societies, and other projects that happen at university. But that's not to say that there aren't a wide number of commuters who do still get involved. And I'm sure all of us have had friends who are commuters who still take part, and then it's down to you as an individual what you want to get involved with, and your commitment and your drive to take part in those things. But I think that for a lot of people, commuting is becoming a better option, because it means that they have to worry less about the expense of accommodation when it's balanced against, you know, a cheaper cost of commuting. And a lot of activities and placements and everything that goes on in the university is aware of that. And every year it gets slightly better for, I think, commuters to be part of things at George's, because there's more and more opportunities for people who are commuting to get involved in things. As the landscape changes, as the student demographic changes with commuters, so too does the university and the union in making sure that those people don't get left out and can still take part in things. I think all of us lived in Tooting or the close area. No one's commuted at any point. Does anyone have any perspectives from friends who were commuters?
Yeah, so I know quite a few people that commute. They take just as an active part in St George's life as someone else who doesn't. In the sense that I think this is where Tooting's location comes in really well, because you can just hop on the tube and get here and go from here. So even when they want to stay late for events or evenings where there's things planned, they can get home quite easily. So I think in that sense, being where we are still allows like commuters to be able to make that journey, even if it's later in the day or in the evenings. Lots of friends also find other friends they can stay with if they want to stay for a night out or things like that. So there's always ways to go about it. And I'm sure everyone else has experienced the same with their friends that commute.
Yeah, it's a good point that actually Tooting is very well situated for transport. Obviously, the tube station is less than 10 minutes walk from the university, which connects you onto the Northern Line. So anyone commuting from north of the river has an easy route to get back to Tooting. The local buses run throughout the entire local area down into Surrey, and also you have a nearby tram network. You have a lot of nearby rail connections which take you further out down into the south and southeast. So yeah, I think Tooting is a very good location in London for transport and for being able to get places. So yeah, you're not limited like you might be in some other universities, some of the ones that are kind of further out on the fringes of London. Tooting does have a 24-hour transport network. So actually, even if you are still getting involved with stuff after hours, it shouldn't be a burden, and lots of people do manage it. Some of the most actively involved people with some of the societies at St George's are people who do commute, and so it's in no way a barrier or a burden. So it just comes down to what works out best for you. The next question, again, sort of link on, which is how do you balance having a social life and all of the work you do for the course? I think some people manage that better than others. You can be as involved or as uninvolved as you want to be. I think there's different things to look at. I think when you look at some of the academic societies, the educational societies, they're set up in such a way that they happen outside of lecture time. But shortly after, things will start at 5 o'clock or 5:30. So they're quite easy to go to and attend and be part of if you choose to. For sports activities, most clubs practice on a Wednesday afternoon, and those Wednesday afternoons are not scheduled teaching time. So you will always have that time to be able to go off and train and compete, because the university sports leagues link up with that. Every university has those Wednesday afternoons off, so that all universities can compete in sports at that time. And when sports leagues restart, which will hopefully be a few months down the line around Christmas time, all of that activity will kick off again. And if you take part in a sport, you know, your Wednesday afternoons are protected so that you have that time to do that. And there's a lot of other clubs and societies, a lot of other activities that happen on Wednesday afternoons as well, because it's known that that is a time that everyone, by and large, will be free. The more you get involved, you can be doing something every single night of the week. Sometimes you can be having periods where you don't. And I think that's another good thing, is things tend to be scheduled around busier periods as well. At the end of the day, by having clubs and societies that are run by students, they're much more aware of how timetables work and fit things around busier periods. Certainly within the Students' Union, we make sure that everything that we put on is at the best time we can put it on. A lot of the performances are scheduled so that it doesn't clash with people's exams or revision periods. And if you have the passion for it, at the end of the day, I think you find the time. The course load is not so overwhelming that it prevents you from doing the activities. And with time management skills, you can quite easily get involved in a lot of stuff. And if you ever need help with that, the Students' Union can provide advice on revision skills, and the St George's Library as well has some great resources for effective study tools, which will free up a lot of your time to be able to take part in other activities. How have you guys found balancing being very actively involved students with course loads?
I would say that a big thing about the fact that we are a healthcare university is that almost everyone has a similar workload, and so your friends will be potentially the people that you are studying with, and having that family system as well means that you will make friends with people who will then support you with your workload. There'll be people who have gone through it before you, and they'll be able to give you a bit of advice about how to best manage things, what the most efficient ways of handling certain areas are. Also, clubs and societies often have revision sessions, mock OSCEs, all sorts of helpful revision resources. And so you can have a bit of a combination between your social life and studying, and it's almost kind of combined in one. But yeah, as long as you have good time management skills, it's more than possible to be both doing really well in your course and getting super involved in university life. And the fact that we've the actual building of the university is so small also allows for this, so you don't have to have a big commute between big walks between lectures. If I have a break between lectures or between a lecture and when something else is supposed to start, I'll go straight to the library, and because it's all in the same building, there's no time at all that takes. So I think those two things really help balance a really kind of full social life with also studying.
Yeah, I think that's a good point, that a lot of the clubs and societies will do all that activities. The SU, the Students' Union, has a number of rooms on its floor, where the SU is essentially has a floor in the university, and has a lot of other rooms around the university that things get scheduled in. So actually, often a lot of the projects that you can get involved in, a lot of the social activities that you can be involved in, are in the same or similar rooms that you have your teaching in. So you don't have a massive campus to cross, you don't have this massive disparate set of buildings that you have to travel long ways to. Even the Students' Union bar is built into the second floor of the hospital, so a lot of the social events that happen in that space can easily be reached. You know, it's not a massive travel. I think one thing that sets George's apart from some other places is the fact that we have all of this social space that is literally on a floor of the hospital, and you don't have to travel halfway down a tube line to get to another social space. Everything's in one place, everything's kind of built in, and it's a real positive hub that ties in with that community feel. to put everything in one place for you.
Amazing, and I think that is our final question. And on that note, I'd like to thank our panel for coming here and sharing their experiences. Hopefully their kind of responses, have been really useful to you. This isn't the end of the conversation. If you do want to talk to a current student or another staff member, you can go on to UniBuddy, where you can talk to a current student, or as Ethan mentioned, you can contact the Students' Union on their website in the link that we've shared in the chat. So as I said, I'd like to thank our panel. I'd like to thank you for joining us today. We've had a jam-packed kind of day of sessions, all of those sessions of which you can find the recordings online, and we've shared the link with you to today's sessions. So there's not much more to say, but we look forward to seeing you in September, and thank you for joining us.